A Thanksgiving history. Thanksgiving has deep historical roots extending beyond the well-known Pilgrim Feast of 1621, influenced by indigenous harvest ceremonies and centuries of cultural evolution. Here is an expanded essay that delves into these rich origins, the 1621 celebration, and its transformation into the contemporary holiday. The history of Thanksgiving, from indigenous harvests to national holiday. Indigenous harvest celebrations, the roots of Thanksgiving. Long before European settlers, indigenous peoples held annual ceremonies to thank the earth's bounty. These spiritual community-centered occasions involve feasting, dancing, and sharing gifts. The Wampanoag, for example, celebrated with staples like the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, underscoring a worldview of interdependence and respect for the land, embedded in their cultures for millennia. The Pilgrims' 1621 Harvest Feast, cooperation amid hardship. In autumn 1621, after a harsh first year, Plymouth colonists held a 3-day harvest feast with the Wampanoag people. This event, often called the First Thanksgiving, followed a successful harvest, made possible by Native American guidance. The gathering featured venison, wild fowl, and indigenous vegetables, reflecting both gratitude and a political alliance. It's crucial to see this as a temporary, cooperative moment within a broader, complex history of colonization and negotiation, not a symbol of perfect harmony. Thanksgiving in colonial and early America. Following Plymouth, the practice of holding days of Thanksgiving spread variably throughout English colonies, often proclaimed by governments after successful harvests, military victories, or other notable occasions. As early as the 17th century, regions including Massachusetts, Virginia, and the Carolinas observed formal Thanksgiving gatherings, but with widely differing customs, dates, and religious emphasis. During the American Revolution, figures like George Washington and John Adams called for national days of Thanksgiving to foster unity and gratitude amidst conflict. Still, Thanksgiving remained regionally diverse and lacked uniform observance. The 19th century and the creation of a national holiday. The 19th century saw Thanksgiving evolve from scattered observances into a fixed holiday, a process championed by author and editor Sarah Josepha Hale. For decades, she lobbied presidents and politicians to establish a National Day of Thanks, envisioning it as a unifying cultural tradition reflecting American ideals. Finally, in 1863, during the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed a National Thanksgiving Day to be celebrated on the final Thursday of November. His declaration framed the holiday as a call for healing, reflection, and gratitude to God's providence, the seeds of the modern holiday's spiritual and civic meaning. The holiday today, tradition, reflection, and commerce. Modern Thanksgiving melds these varied origins into a family-focused celebration of abundance and gratitude. The traditional meal, centered on roast turkey, stuffing, and seasonal vegetables, includes foods with roots in indigenous agriculture and early colonial adaptation. Traditionally, the holiday also includes parades, American football games, volunteerism, and expressions of community. Commerce plays a significant role now, too, as Thanksgiving marks the onset of the holiday shopping season with events like Black Friday. Thanksgiving's complex legacy. In recent decades, there has been greater awareness of Thanksgiving's a contested history. For Native Americans, Thanksgiving marks a day of mourning to remember centuries of displacement, cultural loss, and resistance. Indigenous scholars and activists emphasize that the holiday's simplistic narrative obscures the realities of colonialism and encourages broader dialogue and truth-telling. Concurrently, many communities incorporate indigenous perspectives and foods into celebrations, aiming to honor the holiday's deeper roots in reciprocity and respect for the earth. Thanksgiving is a layered holiday born from ancient indigenous harvest rituals and European colonial history, shaped by religious practices, political forces, and cultural reinvention. While it celebrates survival and gratitude, it also invites us to remember the complexities of American origins. Embracing a fuller history enriches the holiday's meaning and encourages mutual respect and understanding. Expanding on the colonial period and Thanksgiving. The colonial period following the Pilgrim settlement at Plymouth was marked by evolving practices of Thanksgiving rooted in a mixture of religious observance, community solidarity, and political expression. While the original 1621 feast served as a temporary celebration of survival and accord between colonists and the Wampanoag, the notion of Thanksgiving as an annual structured holiday took decades to develop and varied widely among English colonies. Religious foundations and variability. Thanksgiving observances in the 17th and early 18th centuries were largely Puritan and Anglican in nature, framed as solemn days of thanksgiving and prayer directed to God for blessings like harvests, military victories, or deliverance from hardship. These days often involved fasting, worship services, and community gatherings, but lacked the festive character associated with modern Thanksgiving. Colonists in different regions chose different dates and rituals reflecting local priorities and challenges. For example, Massachusetts Bay Colony issued proclamations for days of public thanksgiving in response to crop successes or the end of epidemics. Thanksgiving was not a fixed national celebration, but an ad hoc regional practice. Political symbolism and national identity. By the mid-18th century, as the American colonies moved toward unity and independence, Thanksgiving days assumed heightened political significance. Colonial leaders saw Thanksgiving as a way to rally public spirit and express a distinct colonial identity separate from British governance. During the American Revolution, figures such as George Washington continued the tradition, proclaiming days of thanks and prayer to celebrate victories or encourage national virtue. Such proclamations linked Thanksgiving closely with ideas of liberty, providence, and gratitude, a framing later adopted by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. Contemporary cultural shifts and re-evaluation. Thanksgiving today is more than a festive meal or a day off. It is also a moment of cultural negotiation and reflection. Increased awareness of indigenous perspectives. In recent decades, greater acknowledgement of indigenous perspectives has reshaped public discourse about Thanksgiving. Native American communities emphasize Thanksgiving as a day of mourning and protest, highlighting the centuries of displacement, violence, and cultural suppression resulting from colonization. Movements such as the National Day of Mourning in Plymouth articulate this historical trauma and urge Americans to remember indigenous resilience and contributions beyond the mythologized narrative of friendly Pilgrim-Native relations, reconnection with indigenous traditions. Some families and communities integrate indigenous foods, stories, and rituals into Thanksgiving celebrations to honor the original harvest festivals and foster cultural respect. Food sovereignty initiatives and indigenous culinary revivals emphasize traditional agriculture and local crops, reconnecting with pre-colonial ecological knowledge and practices. Educational programs encouraging inclusion of indigenous history in schools complement these cultural shifts, promoting a fuller, more accurate understanding of Thanksgiving's origins. Navigating commercialization and holiday spirit. As Thanksgiving marks the start of the busy holiday shopping season, balancing the holiday's spiritual and social values with economic pressures remains a cultural challenge. However, the core themes of gratitude, family, and community continue to resonate widely across diverse American populations. Increasingly, individuals and organizations use Thanksgiving as a time for volunteering, supporting those in need, and fostering cross-cultural dialogue, showing the holiday's enduring potential for connection and renewal. Conclusion: the colonial period set the stage for Thanksgiving's evolution from a regional religious observance to a national holiday imbued with deep symbolism and meaning. Contemporary cultural shifts invite ongoing reflection, emphasizing the importance of embracing the holiday's complexity, including indigenous histories and modern realities. By honoring all facets of its history, Thanksgiving can grow as a richer, more inclusive celebration of gratitude and community.